No, we can't hear you, Manel. Or is it me? No.
For me, it's okay if you hear me. Hello?
Hi, I'm
Hello.
hearing you as well.
Hello?
Oh, so it's just me?
I don't
No,
know.
I also do not hear her.
I
No,
cannot
me
hear
neither.
her either.
You can
Okay.
hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, now yes.
Okay, great. All right, so no need to log out to log in again. I was saying hello, everyone.
Hello?
How's your day going so far?
Good.
All
Quite
fine?
good.
Thank you.
Good.
Hi, Saskia.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
So you can all turn on your cameras if you want, so that way we can see each other's. If you don't want, it's okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
We can keep the mics
Hello.
unmuted, so we don't. Hello. So we don't
Hi.
have. Hi, Stella. So we don't have background noises. We're still waiting a little bit for everybody to be here, and then we can start. I see that we still have people logging in. All right, let's give it about 4 minutes, 3 minutes more, and then I will leave the floor to Michelle. Um, I'm just gonna be waiting a bit. All right, I guess we can start. So I'm going to leave the floor to Michelle. Michelle, the floor is yours, and I will be here to support, also to answer any questions if we have questions. So here we go.
Thank you. Maybe we can start with the tool polls. And then I also see
Yeah,
I cannot share my screen. So that would be.
is it? So, okay. I'll do so. So just a moment, I'll share your presentation.
Mm.
Michelle, just a question. Could you check now if you're able to share because I have put you again as a presenter.
Yep. It seems to be working.
All right, great then. Okay. Then I'll start with the poll. Meanwhile, you just let me know.
I just have to leave and join again. Sorry.
Okay. We will be waiting.
Sorry for this. Where is the poll? Is there a link or something?
No, I'm going to share it.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
I was just waiting for Michelle to have her presentation on, and then I will be in the chat box being her little helper.
No
So just a minute, and then you'll have it. Thank you
thought
for
I'm
your
not seeing it
patience.
somewhere. Yes, it's not an issue.
Okay. You have the polls now, and you have also Michelle presenting. So I think all is good, Michelle, right? We can't
Oh.
hear you, Michelle.
But now you can, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Good.
can. All right, so I'll leave you the floor. I'll mute myself, and I will be in the chat helping.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't seem to have the polls, but I'm on Mac, so that might be an issue here.
All right, I'll update you on the numbers. So the question was, have you seen the movie Lost in Translation? And the answers, we have two answers yes, 15%, and 84% saying no. Ladies and gentlemen, you can vote by yes or no. You'll find it in the chat.
Okay. Well, I have answer enough, I guess, to start my presentation.
Okay.
So for everyone who doesn't know me yet, my name is Michelle. I'm a marketer focused on cybersecurity businesses. And I chose Not Lost in Translation as the title of my presentation because of a movie, which clearly no one has seen, which is a loss. It also has a female director, as a nice side note. I stole the topic from one of my old colleagues. So I actually started working as a marketeer 8 years ago in a data analytics company. It was an IT company as well because they'd built a proprietary analytics tool to actually analyze the data they were selling. And so the movie is about Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson who meet in Tokyo. Bill Murray is there. He plays an actor. He's there to record an advertisement. And this is the one scene in the movie I wanted to refer to. Because the director of this advertisement is Japanese. So there's this scene where they are filming the advertisement, and the director holds this entire speech, which isn't subtitled. So as a watcher, you don't know what he's saying either. He holds this whole speech with a lot of hand gestures, and then the translator comes in to tell Bill Murray or to give him the translation, and she says, after this entire speech, he wants you to look into the camera. And that's what I felt a little bit when I joined the data analytics company. I don't have a technical background. And in the beginning, the only way for me to know what we were actually selling to clients was talk to my technical colleagues, to the head of data analytics, to the head of IT. And they would tell all these big stories about the tech behind the product. And then I would ask sales, what are we selling? And they were like, we sell data. And that's also a feeling that I have in cybersecurity a little bit sometimes, where if we talk to founders of companies, they hold this whole speech and they're super passionate about the tech that makes the product happen. But it's sometimes difficult to understand what they are really selling. And quite often there's this perception that building a product is hard. and don't get me wrong, it is. But the companies that I speak to a lot, they find out later that selling a product is also very hard. You can build something beautiful, launch it to the market, but that doesn't mean that buyers will immediately flock to try your solution. But what I see in my job and what I see as a consumer as well is that sometimes, or actually most of the time, buying a product is even harder. And that's what I want the focus of my presentation to be today, is how can you make sure that your idea or product or solution is easier to buy. So before I continue, a little bit more about me. I am a product marketing manager at a marketing agency in the Netherlands, Beyond Products, it's called. I live in Spain with my partner and 2 cats. My cats might actually show their faces in this presentation as well. They like it a lot when there's a lot of people on screen. And before I continue explaining a little bit about what product marketing is, because it's not a very common term in cybersecurity, I've noticed. For me, product marketing is the basis of everything that you do and see. So I do a lot of client research, a lot of client interviews, prospect interviews, and we really try to put together strategy documents and positioning and messaging, understanding all of the competitors, and then deciding how we want to sell a specific product. And so marketing is what you would then see more visually, and it's built on that product marketing. And that is, everything from blog articles to the visuals that you would see in LinkedIn campaigns. So again, my message today is buying a product is extremely hard, and that's what you have to make as easy as possible. And I wanted to start with a little example. Last week when I was preparing this presentation, I thought, let's take a very practical example, something that a lot of companies buy, which is cybersecurity awareness training. So I Googled cybersecurity awareness training and I made screenshots of the first web pages that I found. The first one, I mean, it's quite clear, no? Turn your weakest link into your strongest line of defense, something that you hear quite often. They mention that they are awareness trainings, that they're automated, they function year-round, they're not boring, they don't burden IT and security, and they help build a human firewall. So it sounds like a security awareness training. The second one is a little bit different. It focuses a lot more on the dashboard that you would see. It's adaptable, AI-driven, whatever that may mean in the case of simulated phishing training. They also have a security awareness training library, which might also be difficult to understand what it really is. And this third one, making secure behavior your second nature, a training human risk management, interesting, put people first, reduce human risk. And the question is, based on what are you actually going to make a decision? It's quite difficult here to decide whether or not a specific training would actually fit the needs of a specific company or what you're looking for. And that happens quite often, that we look at each other and copy how we present certain products and solutions. And also we want to cover the entire market. So we want to have a security awareness training that is fit for everyone, but thereby kind of fit no one. So today what I'm going to show you is the models that I use to better position a product or idea. So to be able to answer the question, how hard is it to buy your product, your solution, or your idea? And everything evolves around context. I found these two pictures of people buying fruits or other grocery store products. And in both situations, you would make a very difficult or different decision depending on the options that you're presented with. So context is everything. And as a first step, it's super important to know who you're actually talking to and who you're trying to sell your ID to. I mean, this might be kicking in an open door, but it's very different story if you sell your idea to a security architect or a CEO of a company, because they both have very different factors that they would take into account. Yet almost always selling cybersecurity products, especially the ones that are more expensive, you have this entire buying committee that you'll have to serve. So you have to cover both the more technical information about the product, but also actually cover what is the business case, what problem are we trying to solve here. Because and especially if you talk to people higher up in the organization, so even a CISO, they have so many balls to keep in the air. And security awareness training, if we follow that example, is only one of the many things that they have to manage. And so you have to understand that your product isn't going to get their entire or full and undivided attention. But you'll have to share it with all of these other issues that they're also worrying about. And the same goes for CEOs or CFOs, who especially now with NIS2 are more involved in the buying processes of security tools, or actually they should be more informed. They have even more areas of focus. So for them, beyond usually not being very technical or not have very technical backgrounds, they have a lot more to focus on. And then you come in and say, we need a security awareness training. So the next model that I want to show you is actually slightly different. I came across this LinkedIn post last week, which I thought was interesting because it has a very, very clear business case to it. It was a guy who mentioned how logging data in SIEM solutions is getting, or it's not getting, extremely expensive. It always has been extremely expensive. And there's now other solutions, telemetry tools that would take over and are a lot more affordable. But that's another additional tool that you would have to add to your tech stack. So I wanted to show you how I would approach this situation, only looking at initially these different buyer personas. And again, I chose this example because it has such a clear business case, but talking to people upward in the organization, it would be like, yes, we have to buy a different tool, right? And add that to all of the other solutions that we're already using, but we're going to save a lot of money whilst doing so. Whereas if you're talking to the more technical people in the organization, you would be a lot more focused on the types of integrations that you have, how easy it is to set up, or how difficult it is to set up. And there's this quote from a CISO who participated in a survey and research that we did, who said, very often I want to know, can you do X? And I have to listen for 20 minutes to everything except X. Start from the customer's needs. And I think this is super important to keep into account that quite often we're not just pitching ideas. You have a conversation, right, about the tool or solution or the idea that you're trying to sell. So it's extremely important also to ask them questions and understand what is it that you want to know and how much do you already know, so that you don't give double information. I use a different model to decide how I'm going to position the story that I have to tell, because quite often there are multiple building blocks that you can work with. I've mentioned the business case. I've mentioned the more technological side of the product. But what I see happening very often is that companies try to share as many features or technical features as they possibly can to sell a product. But then you let the target audience decide which feature they want to choose. And you have the risk of actually losing them along the way because you keep sending information. So I don't think that sharing those features, especially if you have a pure sales conversation, is the way to go. So the way that I address that is different. This model changes depending on the solution that I'm selling. I first want to keep going with the telemetry example because it's an easy one. I'll later get back to the security awareness training and how I would switch around the model, given that it's such different solutions to buy or sell. So here, to make it easy, I've started with the feature that we're selling, one of the features that I've shown before, which is the observatory pipeline. Now, if you think back about the different personas that we're targeting, I'm now deciding to focus on the security operations manager. One of the use cases one of the jobs to do for them is collecting and analyzing security logs and events to detect threats and maintain compliance. And that fits this specific feature. The current solution, in this case, we assume that they're still logging everything in their SIEM. So that's what we're competing with. We've seen the limitation. It's extremely expensive to keep logging your information in the SIEM. And so the benefit would be significantly reduce the costs while preserving complete visibility. Another feature, to give you an alternative example, would be query agents. We stick to the same persona in this case, so the security operations manager. And here it's about investigating security incidents across the entire organizations. Especially if you have a bigger organization, data might be spread over different repositories with different tools and different interfaces. So that doesn't really make it easy to investigate specific incidents. And obviously the limitation of this is that it's slow and the search is fragmented. So the solution or the benefit is a single search interface across all security data sources. One thing to keep into mind if in the future you're going to use this model or other models to structure ideas. And that's what I've seen happen in cybersecurity, but more in general in very technical IT solutions, is that it's very easy to either fall into the trap of using a lot of very technical words of which not all of the users may understand what they mean. And I've taken this picture from Cybersec just to exemplify, because you see these words used everywhere, but with XDR, for example, what is so extended about XDR? How do you actually know? How is that going to explain what it is that you're selling? And then on the other hand, looking at benefits, because there was a long time that marketers said you should focus on the benefits of your product. So not on the features, but on the benefits, which is a very nice idea. But in cybersecurity, and the name says it in the industry name, it's very easy to see as a benefit, we're going to keep your digital infrastructure safe, or we're going to keep it secure. But essentially, every product sold in the industry is going to do exactly that. It's going to keep hopefully, your digital infrastructure safe. So any product could claim that. So I don't think that is would be the right benefit to focus on. Others that I've seen is we make you compliant. And I think that there's a big difference between we make you compliant, or our solution helps you be compliant, and we're going to demonstrate the fact that you're compliant to specific laws, certifications, etc. So it's important to be wary of the type of benefits that you decide to give to your product or solution. Now, I'm quite practical in the way that I would use this model in later communication. What I've done here, given I showed the website headers before, if I would write a website header focused on this specific feature, I would try to mix a little bit of all of the information because it's all important to making the buying decision. So we start here with the benefit because it's such a clear one. The high costs is just a no-brainer in this sense. But I have mixed it with the actual use case. I then focus on the limitation of current solutions, and I make sure that from the context it's very clear what your product is competing with or what it's going to replace. I also do mention the features, but as you can see, that's actually further down the line than this first information. And if I would have to change the persona that we're focused on, that also automatically changes the structure of the information that you're providing. As you can see here, we have to provide a lot more context, so the text is inherently longer as well, and you can be less technical. I mean, this is all clear and logical. But important to mention, I think, that you have to be more explanatory about, okay, so what is the theme? How does this relate to the actual theme? Is this, and then have a very strong focus on the added benefit, which is you're cutting costs, but ensuring that your security team will still have all of the information that it needs to protect your business. So now I want to go back to the security training example, since I've covered that in the beginning, and also show you how how I would adapt the model. Because in security awareness training, I mean, you could specify it with the specific features of your training, but here what I've assumed is that most of these solutions, and that's also what we saw in the three examples or website examples that I showed, is they all focus on very similar problems. So the use case in all cases is train your staff on security risks and teach them how they should act, teach them how they should recognize phishing emails. The problem is that humans are the weakest link and you have to make them stronger. Current solutions are quite often an annual tick the box training, potentially, or in this situation, that's what we would be competing with. Most of the examples that I showed you all claim that they're not non-boring security trainings and that they're on demand and that they don't cost a lot of time. And the business case is, in most cases, what you see is that companies claim to save money because the risk of getting hacked is lower. And where I think there's a big opportunity here is for who your training is, because that's what none of the other three solutions have done. There are lots of cybersecurity trainings out there, some better, some more comprehensive than others. But what I haven't seen in those examples that I was searching for is trainings for specific target audiences. And that's interesting because organizations are very, very different. So for my example, I focused on companies with car mechanics. If you're a CISO of a car manufacturing company, that's a completely different target audience because car mechanics, they don't sit behind their laptop all day. Whereas if you focus with your security training on an enterprise where people work with their laptops all day, every day, and we do a lot of emailing, that is a different argument to make. And so I think the training So this is how I approach.
We lost you for a moment, Michelle. I think
Okay.
maybe connection was lagging or something.
Thank you. I'll slightly repeat the last message then. I was saying organizations are so different. Car mechanics, they don't see their or work on computers all day, every day. And that's a completely different audience for security awareness trainings as would be people like us or us, people like me who work in the office all day, every day, and who do a lot of emailing. Now there's one last model that I want to show, which might help structure ideas, because I've now explained how I would position ideas or solutions. I think there's one very big point that is missing, is especially if you're going to buy a telemetry tool or any other cybersecurity tool that will cost you, from 200K upwards every year, that solution or that decision isn't made from one day to the next. So that means that you need a longer runtime in what you're communicating. So a good website copy or one good sales pitch is not going to do the trick, right? So the model that we use for that is this one. It goes from someone being unaware to problem aware to solution aware to brand aware. It's not that specific people would pass through this as we're a funnel, but it's helpful. When I was working at the data analytics company, to give an example, we could never just start talking about you should buy our data and this is what you can use it for. We had to do a lot of explaining our marketing about the fact that people should be working with data rather than only making decisions based on their gut feeling. So we were creating a lot of content in the unaware stage. People weren't even aware that they were able to buy data to make the decisions that they were already making every single day, and that those decisions would very likely be a lot better. And I think quite often that's the case with cybersecurity products as well, especially if they are fairly new in the market. So in this last example, I wanted to focus on static application security testing, so SAST tools. You could also call them code scanners. That's not for any particular reason other than the fact that I did some research myself last week because I wanted to understand the specific market better. So you could say that back-end developers or maybe even QA engineers initially aren't necessarily aware of the existence of these tools. So what that would mean for communication is that you write articles or white papers or content in general, which is a lot more focused on vulnerabilities found in code. You explain how there might be specific API connections that are visible in the code or credentials even. And if you have to manually find all of that, that's a lot of work. So this is a lot more high level, already indicating that there's a solution to the specific problem. For people who already know that this issue exists and they start investigating different options, then obviously you have to talk a lot more about what these different options are and comparing your solution to the existing solutions. Once people are actually evaluating your tool, they will want a lot more information. So especially since those kind of solutions are built for QA engineers and backend developers, they will want to read the actual knowledge hub to see if the right integrations are available, if this specific solution support their programming language. And in that way, you give them the information that they're looking for at this point in time. And in the last step, at least for this product, I would say that people want to try your solution. They're already aware of your company, of your brand, and now they just want to see and feel how it works, maybe do testing to make that final decision. So to get back to the message that I had at the beginning, is that building a product and selling a product aren't even as hard. Buying a product is a lot harder. What always helps me a lot is thinking from my own perspective. So what way would I like people to communicate to me? What kind of questions would I be asking buying this product? And of course, that only shows you one part of the story. I would say that there are lots of different types of people, right? I am a reader. I like reading. My partner, he watches videos. So it really depends on the type of person that you are, in which way you want to be communicated to. But it's a very good step to think about how difficult is it to buy my ideal solution. And on that note, I wanted to end and thank everyone for joining. And there's also time for questions.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That was really interesting. I mean, for me, I'm discovering this also for the first time. And I was hoping to see the cat, but I didn't see the cat. All right, so we will leave now time for Q&A. If you have a question, you just go ahead, raise your hand, and we'll give you the speech. Or else you can write down your question in the chat or in the Q&A. So anyone interesting to go first? Any questions? She's the expert and she's here to answer any question that you have in mind related to her presentation, the topic, or something else that you were thinking of, or we're taking questions.
Can I jump in with a question?
Yes, Anna.
Okay, thank
Please
you.
go ahead.
Michelle, really interesting structured approach at breaking down, features, benefits, audience, payers, and so on. What I was thinking, and I'm coming from a bit of a, let's say, earlier in the pipeline kind of position. Currently, I'm involved in an educational project that is tackling the aspect of cybersecurity at a bit of an earlier stage. And it's not just about security for the sake of security between ourselves, amongst the youngsters, although that's important as well, but preparing them to consider careers in cybersecurity. And actually, sometimes when I started communicating with educators I faced this challenge that, well, we are already doing this, internet safety for students, digital kind of literacy, and so on. And it's almost, sometimes people are a bit afraid to really, look into cybersecurity. It's almost like opening a Pandora's box. So I was wondering, even this kind of communication with educators, sometimes with parents, to encourage, students, pupils, to pursue this kind of studies. I'm still struggling to see the most efficient and effective way to go about it. Any suggestions?
Oof, that's a difficult one, huh? I mean, I'm also thinking back to when I was a student myself and I was absolutely not interested in IT. But at my school in general, they didn't do a lot about IT. So there was the group of a few gamers. They were the ones who were super technical, and everyone else wasn't, which is weird because when I was younger, we already started going online. We all had accounts. And I don't know if anyone knows this game, but I played a lot of RuneScape, and there was a lot of hacking going on there, where people were trying to steal your account if you had a very good score. But so I don't know, because your target audience are more the educators, you said, right, than the students themselves.
Well, as a first point of entry, it's the educators, because we are preparing some educational materials and career guidance materials and study pathways in the field of cybersecurity that will be provided to the students, but through the educators or career counselors. Or, we want the same materials by the educators to probably be brought to the attention of the parents as well. And, we feel that we need to sensitize the parents, because often they are the ones that also influence the students, especially the girls, or especially the ones that are non-tech, not to go necessarily for cybersecurity. And this is where, I know you'll have another session, another workshop on careers, but, so many opportunities there for someone that is not tech inclined, like, I don't know, psychology. And you tackle a lot this element already a bit through your presentation,
Yeah, interesting.
But I'll definitely take into account, those 6 boxes and the audience and the perspective of each and every. Thank you.
I mean, the way that we usually approach this is by interviewing. So interviews with the target audience are what's going to drive all of the information in those boxes. And also filling out the model in itself isn't enough, right? Afterwards, I always check the information with the target audience as well to see if this really is what resonates with them.
A bit of iteration.
But I can imagine that in your situation also the difference between educators will be incredibly big. There might be different personas that you have to focus on, right? From more conservative educators to the more modern ones. And the modern ones are probably the easier entry point as well, especially if they are female themselves. So
okay. Well, there are a lot of females in the teachers' complement, so at least that's a good thing. Okay.
But interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you. It was a really interesting question. Thank you, Michelle. Also, is anyone else has a question? I'm going to read the question from Marlos. Meanwhile, if somebody else has a question, please go ahead. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing the name not correctly. So, quick question. Besides listening to the client in demos, what other things can suppliers of cybersecurity products do to really get through to their target audience?
A difficult question, right? I mean, listening is the most important one, and listening can happen anywhere, also before the actual conversation. So I mean, besides listening in the actual conversations, like I said, we do a lot of interviews, visit trade shows, read online. I mean, especially in cybersecurity, a lot of people are very active on Reddit as well, which is always a good source of information regarding any technological product and people's opinions about it. And also the different job roles have different subreddits. And so what other things can suppliers of cybersecurity products do to really get through to their target audience? Everything that we do at the agency is long-term. So before you have the actual demo with a potential client, there's a whole process that you can already influence with marketing campaigns without being pushing, but just to make sure that people have already seen and heard about your company by the time that they decide they would need a solution like yours.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. We have 2 more questions. One from me and another I'm going with Vasiliki first. So she said, hi from Cyprus. I'm coming from an IT, years as SYS admin. currently offering seminars on cybersecurity for non-technical staff in companies. I want to say that it was a very good presentation. Congrats, and ask if we may have the recording, and I'm going to say yes. We'll find all the recordings later on our website, and I'm going to communicate that. And then my question, Michelle, is I see mentees that struggle with communicating the value of their technical skills and solutions in business context. So based on your experience, what would be the advice to help early career professionals bridge the gap between the technical expertise and effective business communication, especially in interviews or when they are pitching their ideas?
What my tip would be, I was quite lucky when I was in university in my last year. We had quite a few courses on negotiation skills. I studied business, so those kind of topics are more common. But over the years, I've done quite a lot of good communication trainings. One of them was actually in Brussels, which is where you're based. This was not necessarily a communication training, but more a presentation training. And I guess those kind of trainings also really help you to think about what am I going to communicate and how. And yeah, I would say that those kind of trainings help a lot in improving your communication skills, and yeah, already thinking about how to explain very technical and complex processes and explain them in a very clear way. Everything is practicing and putting a lot of effort into it. We quite often think that communication is easy, and it's a little bit like an afterthought. When I worked, it's happened quite often that I worked with development teams and they would come to me, I was the marketing team, and it would be like, yeah, we're launching this feature or we're putting this feature into production next week. So, can you just write a blog article about it and then, make sure that people start using it? And that's obviously not how it works. You have to really think about how to communicate something. So communication takes time, and take that time is what my recommendation would be.
Thank you. I'll pass on the message also when I have a question or an inquiry as such. So we still have some minutes to go. If we have other questions, there is no wrong question. So please go ahead and go with any of the questions or even remarks. Michelle is still here and we have some time. Okay, I guess we do not have any questions to go. So we have a small survey that we do always at the end of each webinar. It's a feedback, it's anonymous. Could you please take 2 minutes to fill in the survey? That would help me a lot to prepare for the future ones. I have to say thank you so much, Michelle, for taking the time and effort and volunteering to do this. We highly appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, also for taking the time, joining us, and being part of the community. We're going to meet one more time this month, 2 more times this month. And again, we will be posting about upcoming events. Also, don't forget to connect with each other on LinkedIn, grow your community too. So if you want to leave here your LinkedIn so you can connect with people, go ahead and do so. Any final words, anyone who wants to go with something before we end the meeting? Michelle, I'll leave you the final word.
Well, nothing left to say. Thank you for having me. It was very nice to do. Nerve-wracking as well, but it was great, and I hope that everyone has a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your evening, and we will meet up soon again. Please don't forget to answer the survey. Bye, everyone. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.